Welcome everyone. I'm Bernadette Logue. You can call me B. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm a spiritual life coach with over a decade of experience helping you to align with your soul for a life of purpose, fulfillment, and magic. And today I'm joined by a very dear friend of mine and colleague, Dr. Kim Duramo. She'll be joining us in one moment, but here's a little bit about her before we dive in. So Dr. Kim is a physician. She's the best-selling author of the MindBody Toolkit and founder of the American Institute of MindBody Medicine. She assists clients all over the world to tap into their body's wisdom to reverse pain, fatigue, anxiety, and to end disease. Without further ado, let's welcome Kim. Kim, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for giving us some of your precious time.
I'm so grateful to connect with you, my soul sister.
Yay. So I'm in Dubai, you're in Durango, the D's, and you are just such a lively, beautiful energy. And I said this to you, and if I didn't, this will be new for you. But I said to Aaron, I never thought I would meet anybody. Aaron, my husband, for those that don't know, I said to Aaron, I didn't think I would ever meet anybody who matched my level of enthusiasm and optimism and hope and high positive energy for life. Because sometimes people are saying like I'm hashtag twice the dose of enthusiasm, but you just have it in spades in such an authentic way. Specifically, it's so clear you are on point with your purpose and in this whole zone of health and healing. So what I thought we could talk about today for the community is activating your body for self-healing. And we can talk about physical healing, you're a physician, but also we can go places around mental, emotional, and other things. So I wondered if you could start by just sharing for people that don't know your background very much about what led you to do mind body medicine in this way and to work with people around self-healing.
It started when I was really young because I was super intuitive, empathic, picking up on a lot of energies, and I developed a lot of severe anxiety and panic disorder. I didn't know what it was. I didn't realize I was like sponging up everyone's energies, and my body just didn't know what to do with it. And, I was in Boston where I grew up. So everything's like it's the medical mecca. Of course, I went to the doctor and they're like, we need to use medications. And that was really clear, like, this is not going to work for me. But I realized I got to figure this out on my own. They're just going to keep medicating me. If I tell people what is really going on in here, it sounds like I'm a crazy person. And so I sort of realized I'm on my own. I got to fly under the radar. I've got to solve this. It kind of necessitated that I went deep to connect with myself because I was very clear there wasn't a single person around me who could kind of comprehend what's happening at that level, that deep, deep inner level. And yeah, on the surface, it looked like, oh, she has OCD because I was, just prayers over and over and over and over in my mind, but it was really a mantra. It was the only thing I knew. I wouldn't have called it a mantra at the time that could focus my mind on a different track than the one that was going to create the spin out and lead to a panic attack. So I learned, and then I learned that my breathing would change the trajectory. I could, decrease the anxiety and like not go in the direction of a panic attack. But it was years of like really, really being scared that and trying to find the sources outside of myself that I realized like, no, it's you and you. And I had to meet a deeper space in myself to have it show me, what do I do with this? And to learn that how I was breathing, what I was thinking about could all be cultivated. I could become a master of shifting my thoughts and changing my body. And, I began developing my own mind body tools. And it wasn't just about like managing anxiety. It was also about when I wanted something and I was like inspired. And then, I want to go to medical school. Oh, yeah, no, it's really hard to get into medical school. And it was like the hardest, highest applicants ever that year I applied the first time. And then I remember being aware of like when I believed that, it felt really contracted. And it was like, no, that's not true for me. What's really true? And then looking at that's not going to apply to me. I have my path. I'll find my path. And then my body would just feel at ease. So I learned how like my thoughts affected not only how I felt inside, but the trajectory I was on, what I saw, who I was around, what things happened to me were all, I was like, I'm opting out of that path of cutthroat competition. Only a few make it. No, that's not going to apply to me. I'm going to find my path and it's going to be smooth for me. And so, from there you just learn, you pay attention, you become more conscious by necessity. And so I knew that I wanted to bring that into the field of medicine. And I knew I wanted to bring that to more people to show them what's really true, what's really possible, how to create, that we are creators, that as within, so without. It's not just your body manifesting this random disease and here's your medication. And I could see like what the doctors thought about it at that textbook level, but I could perceive the whole universe of what was really happening to me on the inside that I could never have explained at that time to anyone.
Mm, mm. And so you had also created healing at the physical level with autoimmune, as well as at this level of mental and emotional health.
So that was during medical school. I got really sick with this obscure illness and no doctors could figure it out. And yeah, having studied my body medicine, you would think, I got this one handle. I'd read like dozens of books. But when it came to actually how I was connected in my body, all I was doing is spinning my wheels, trying to heal myself, mind over matter. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to think positive, which really falls short. That's not medicine. And so I had to sort of like learn what the truth is behind that messaging. Yeah, the body heals itself, but I can actually only open to allow that to happen. I can't make it happen. I'm not the source of that happening. I'm not in charge or in control of any of this. And then that layer of like, if I don't get this right, I'm doing it wrong. That's another major layer. No, there's nothing actually wrong about what's happening. That was a hard one for me to get my head around because I was in severe, severe joint pain, fatigue. I felt like crap all the time, like chills. Um, all the doctors were telling me, here's your diagnosis, here's what you have, you'll never run again, here's your medications. And I had to really trust that inner knowing and look beyond that and say, yep, no, that's not what's true for me. There is a reason my body is now inflamed and manifesting degenerative joints and manifesting autoimmune and manifesting all this inflammation. Why would it be inflamed? So I had to have like a deeper conversation with myself. And that is so much more about listening than it is about healing yourself or being positive. Like, forget that. That's not going to get
Mm,
you anywhere because it's still trying and forcing and actually a rejection of what's happening. So this was like a hands-on being shown by my own system what was going to open me to health, which did within days resolve the whole autoimmune disease, and what was just going to keep me on the hamster wheel, creating more inflammation and more tension.
I love that. And later in this session, we're going to share with people like a free event they can come to with you and your actual Embracing Health program, which is where you go in and into the depths and walk with people through this, like what you've been through. You've been through it firsthand. This is not textbook for you. This is lived experience. And so when people are in this space of severe mental emotional loop of unwellness, so anxiety, stress, or they are in a we can't fix it for you medical challenge,
Yeah.
and they are left with no answers from the authorities that they turn to that are meant to be able to help them. Where does this mind body medicine go as the starting point that's missing in that system of care?
Yeah, it's a huge, huge missing piece, and it is really the foundation because once we shift this foundation within, right, where I was, for me, it was like battling myself. I've got to overcome. I've got to avoid failure. I'm going to achieve. But like everything I was doing was with this layer of overcome, overpower, succeed, and kind of like running from the dragon. So you have this inspired vision of becoming a doctor and everything that absolutely was, with this layer of, I've got to make sure I don't fail. That was hyper running my system. I didn't see it until I did. So I think the biggest thing is you can't heal yourself, and you actually can't quote like heal the disease. As long as I saw the disease as an entity and a thing I had to fight and I had to battle, I'm actually creating it. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So I'm battling this thing that's getting created from my energy. So all of the inflammation was coming from me. So how do I actually allow it to resolve? Which is the real question, is to realize this is a fabrication. It's not a real thing that happened to me and I got to find a cure. I'm just going to come into a awareness where that no longer exists. It's not getting recreated. So eventually it dissolves, sometimes very, very quickly. Sometimes it's a few days, maybe it's a couple weeks, but your body can cultivate that energy and heal this. And so for me, I realized my relationship with my body was like the faulty foundation. Like this was just a nuisance in the way of me getting where I need to go. Come on, I'm going to be this great success. I'm going to push through. I'm not going to let the fatigue get me down. That's what actually propagated the worsening and the worsening over the years of having this quote disease. And it wasn't until I literally let go of fighting or of even like managing, like there's nothing to manage. I could let go. And it was a very, very quick transition where my body was in so much health because of that shift in my consciousness that my physical body started to just regenerate in a new way.
Wow, and you've seen remarkable cases of bodies self-healing when people get a little out of the way of that track of I need to fight the disease. Well, the disease is yourself, so now you're at war with yourself. So that's
Yeah,
another layer, right? But you're getting out of the way. What happens? You've seen people just things that are, well, this is incurable. This is a lifetime. You're on this medication forever,
absolutely.
right?
Yes.
And so, mhm.
Stage 4 cancer, MS, debilitating in the wheelchair, chronic fatigue syndrome with like 10 different underlying infections of Epstein-Barr virus and Lyme disease and mold in Canada, like this and this and this that just won't clear. Years and years and years of people using like the best medicine, functional medicine, all kinds of alternative therapies as well as conventional, like nothing. I'm not getting anywhere. Be- You have a turnaround, completely resolve every part of what that illness was, and like get out of the wheelchair and walk, or I don't have cancer anymore, or the Lyme disease has cleared. So whether it's thyroid or autoimmune ulcerative colitis, like there's so many ways that inflammatory condition will manifest, whether it's fear festering in the nervous system and creating all that inflammation, suppressed anger. I met with someone this morning who had this recurrent infection from a dog bite, and there's all this drama around the dog and the person that owned the dog. And then they got this bite. Okay, I'm going to be above this. I'm just going to let this go. And they're fine. And 3 weeks later, flaming huge infection. Three different rounds of different antibiotics. It's not clearing. It's getting worse. It's spreading throughout the body. And when we look down at what's at the core of what's happening, was this a passive aggressive pattern of anger, hostility. Underneath it was this powerlessness. Like, okay, fine, fine. F you. I'm just going to shut down. And like a pattern, not from the dog bite, but way, way, way before that, that got triggered by this incident. And now that inflammation, you should see the cellulitis was this like angry, inflamed, swollen, spreading throughout the body, out picturing that anger and that inflammation and this pattern of it was totally unconscious, but it was like, it's hopeless, I'm powerless, so F you. And either fight, aggression, anger, or I can't even handle this anymore. I'm just so depleted. I'm just exhausted. I'm just gonna go take a nap. Shut down, push it away. So, like, I guess the passive slash aggressive. And even in the session said, I just want to be passive and just let this go and just let this heal. But it was a disconnect in the self. It wasn't connecting with what's happening, letting it awaken me, letting it have me see something I was previously unable or unwilling to see. Because when we see it, when we feel it, we can heal it. As soon as you see the pattern, oh, wow, there's all this anger. you've released a huge amount of it. You don't have to I gotta move through the anger. You just gotta see it. You've got to let it in and you got to let it move through. Emotion is energy in motion. And so for most
Mm.
of what I've seen, it's like suppressed emotions creating all that inflammation, and people won't heal as long as those patterns are in place.
And I love how you described it as an out picturing of the deepest parts of ourselves. And sometimes the parts of ourselves that we don't know are even in there, the trapped emotions, the history, the unaddressed things are out picturing into our health or our mental state, our relationships, like into situations that seem outside of us, but because nothing is outside of us, because there's only one realm of consciousness. And I was just thinking as you were talking about that whole process, is that it kind of makes sense when you think about if we have a split off in our mental awareness, our mental state. So we have buried things psychologically, and then we have our conscious awareness not aware of it. Or we have our day-to-day feelings and positivity, and then we have buried, trapped, huge rageful emotions or difficult emotions. That's a split at our emotional state. Then it just kind of like just logically for me, because I'm really practical, it kind of makes sense the body is going to end up doing something weird because it's carrying our spirit, our mind, our emotions. And so there's naturally got to be some effect to that, right? We can feel our feelings inside our body. So when you go with someone into a process and we talk about self-healing, I also loved how you said you're not going to heal yourself, because the second I hear the words heal yourself, I'm like, now I feel a weighty responsibility and obligation. And of course, I don't know how to heal myself. So how the heck am I going to do that? Whereas you're talking about, it sounds like giving your body the space, or so talk to me about that. Let me not guess. You
Yeah.
tell me.
It's a lot more about surrender, and surprisingly, like, letting go is, like, the hardest thing to do because you're like, "How do I let go? How do I let go?" There's so much attachment, and so, like, if we just soften around the attachment by, once again, I notice how attached I am. I notice how I just gotta have it, and I can't stand for this particular person I was mentioning, being in the not knowing, like, "Why is this happening? When's this gonna get better? What do I do? I'm doing everything right." Being in that surrender of, it's not going to come from me, it's going to come through me. I can't heal this or fix anything in my life or like improve my relationships, my money, like fill in the blank. You think you got control, you really have no control. The
Mhm.
only thing you can do is allow the circumstances so that more health flows through my body, the breath of life, the chi, the, kundalini, whatever you want to call it, the breath of life is what does it for me. Well, if I'm a little more relaxed in my body, a little bit physically softer, am I moving in the right direction? Yeah. If I breathe a little more fluidly and fully, am I moving in the right direction? Yeah. Now, when you do those things, you may feel the frustration, the anger, the fear to a higher degree. So then the mind's like, no, 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 clearly this is wrong. Let's go back into closure. And then the tension returns. I'm good. I'm in control. I'm just going to do. And you have this idea of what you're supposed to do. And it actually dynamically propagates the thing you're fighting against. So you can't, make urine or pump your blood or, I don't know, detoxify your gut, but you can embody a state that allows those things to happen more to a higher degree. That's the only thing you can
Mm.
do. And so for me, allowing my body to heal itself was really about letting go. Oh my gosh, I'm going to let go of where I'm trying to control so I'm not a failure. I'm going to let go of where I don't want to feel the shame of like, I'm not succeeding or being so tired I just can't do what I planned to do today. Or I'm going to let go. So, and maybe I'll feel more of the fear I'm feeling, but I'm just going to feel the fear instead of holding on to protect myself from it. And then you find the breath actually moves the energy. Energy in motion is emotion. Your breath is designed to clear and heal you every single breath. And is it happening to a tiny little degree, or is it happening to like a massive, robust degree that you could shed those energies that have been suppressed within moments?
Mm. And when you talk about, like, people might be listening to this and be going through mental emotional challenges or physical illness, and I think back to when I had a 10-year plus chronic condition. And we talked about it the first time we had a session like this together that we shared online, about how once I got out of the patterns I was running and running at full speed and smashing life down a path that wasn't right for me, the illness disappeared because I had let go of a lot of the patterning that I was running, and that my body had space. So people listening to this might think that, for example, well, what do you mean breathing's going to heal me? Or, sometimes people say to me, I know you're a massive advocate for and utilize emotional freedom techniques, as do I, and many other practitioners. And people are like, well, I don't know about this thing because I don't know how that can possibly heal me, or how can just breathing a little bit. You need to listen up to these doctors, because it is absolutely radically, miraculously, supportively healing for so many things within us and around us when we do these simple techniques of breathing correctly and releasing these emotions.
Yeah, and you can have your own experience of it. And within minutes, like, oh, I feel a little lighter. I feel a little more at peace, and start to notice the beginnings of the shift, and what you focus on expands. So you create more of it. Um, but for a lot of people, they may not notice anything, but try it, because the more you begin to do it, it changes your neurologic wiring. You do start to feel more, you do start to sense more. We have teased out anatomically and dissected all the meridian channels throughout the body where they're, coursing. These are ionic energy current channels, where like the salt charge is carried. It's just electromagnetic charge. And so they run along where the acupuncture meridians have been found to be for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But it's kind of like fascinating. We're now, surgically teasing these out to see where these energy current channels are. And when we do EFT tapping, we're just neutralizing that. So if you think of a person who's like, I'm good, everything's good, I'm great, everything's okay, I'm just staying busy, but you can feel the tension in their body. So you're like, oh, you could have fooled me. That person may not be aware of
Mhm.
what's actually happening. Maybe there's, fear, shame, anger. Well, there's all kinds of stuff, but you'll be aware of it, and their life is being affected by it. Like, so whether you're conscious of it or not, it's dynamically creating everything in your life. How much money you get to have, what happens in your relationships. Do you have an awesome work day, or do you have a job you hate?
Mhm.
Everything is being created according to your own consciousness and the electromagnetic vibration. And so we can look at this 8 to 10 feet away from the body and calibrate, even though you're not aware. No, I'm fine. Everything's good in here. But you can sense that energy frequency, and it is 100%, I'm not going to lie. It's going to show you exactly where you're going and what is being created. And so, yeah, might look like everything's fine. I'm holding it together. But yeah, everything's about to fall apart because it's not sustainable. Whereas if you look at your energy frequency, and you don't need $1 million piece of equipment, you can just start tuning into your emotional state. And in my courses, this is what we do: is you become aware. Oh yeah, I see what's happening. And you develop the ability to shift it. So it comes from like, I'm good, to like, oh, whoa, I'm really dropped in. I'm actually here. I'm feeling what I'm feeling, sensing what I'm sensing. Oh, this is why this is happening. Oh, this is what I can let go of. You start to see everything very, very clearly. And only then can you make conscious choices in your life.
There's a feeling I get listening to you where it's almost like just bringing someone back from all the drama and the chaos around them and the consequence of this trajectory of their energy, and back to a place of kind of stillness in the present moment, to start to turn the ship with a completely different kind of approach. And it reminds me of, I had talked to you a little bit privately about spiritual journeys and quests that I had done and how dramatic the impact was. And in one of those, Spirit said to me, I needed answers, and I was doing this, this very tense thing that you're talking about. And they were like, you need to let go. And I was like, I have let go. And they're like, you need to let go. And I was like, I have let go. And this went on and on and on. And I said, well, I can't do nothing. And they said, you're not doing nothing. You're going to do being and allowing. That's not nothing. And it was a real shift in awareness because, probably like you and many people listening, I was trained since childhood to do and go, do and go, do and go, faster and faster and faster, more and more and more, if you want the career you want, if you want your body to be better, if you want,
Okay.
you know, whatever you want, whatever you want. And it's so counterintuitive to someone who needs and wants something really badly, like in this case, healing, for example, and this community of people that are listening to you, to sit back because you feel like you have to go out there and work harder and try harder to find answers. And so it's a really marked shift. You must notice that quite dramatically in people when you're working with them in your program and in your consults.
It's a huge component because everything I was doing to combat the problem is actually what was propagating the problem. Whereas, yeah, I can't do nothing. I'm going to die of a disease. I can't do nothing. I won't be able to finish medical school unless I heal this. The mind will hijack you. And then it just uses all your energy to fuel the problem. And that's the biggest, I think the number one misconception is that you could do nothing. You can't do nothing. Breathing is not nothing.
Okay.
Being is not nothing. You can't, it's not possible for you to do nothing. When you let go, your energy system realigns. You're at a way higher frequency. And what you're doing is emanating out to the world around you. Who you're being is emanating out to the world around you. And we've seen scientifically that is the number one most powerful signal that determines everything that shows up in your life. That is the number one most powerful message that determines the quality of your health. So far from doing nothing, it's actually everything. So letting go, and that's why it's so difficult, is because the mind like, no, no, don't let go. And it will throw everything at you of your worst fears. You'll have to move back home with your mother. And so you'll never let go. You'll never let go as you keep listening to that programming. You've got to find that space within. And even just breathing into the heart, into and out of the heart, or my instant elevation technique is a really powerful way. You realign and you let go, you let all of it go. And all of a sudden, your electromagnetic system, because we are pure energy, begins vibing in a different way and begins doing something very different and creating a whole new reality. You've experienced that in your life when you let go of that job you hated and you're like, what will I do? Well, I don't know. I just know this is the right thing. And then life got created for you and you saw the next step and then you saw the next step and you find the courage to take those steps. The next one is going to be there before you get there. It's going to be there for you,
Mhm.
going to be shown. But you've got to let go before that can happen. Someone said to me recently, it's like holding on to the monkey bars or the TRX bars is what she said. You're going along and you're gonna reach for that next rung. And that next rung is like that next amazing step in your business or breakthrough in your relationship or like your health. But you can't grab that rung if you're still holding on to the other rung. You have to let go in order to have your hand free to hold on to the next rung. So if life is handing you on a silver platter everything your heart is asking for, you've got to have surrendered in order to be able to receive it.
Mm. It's reminding me of the Aaron and I were talking about how is it that the times in our lives that have just been pure flow, how did those times happen? So we're both really like, fascinated by these dynamics of our quantum reality. And in all cases, they were times where we were in total awe and wonder about life's magic. We were both not at all fearful. We were both really open-hearted and surrendered. And every time we got fearful, anxious, or stressed, it all clamped down. And it lines up with the same thing, right? Whether it's healing our bodies or, like you say, it's the same thing. We are an energy frequency broadcast to life. And I love the evidence around this, that we're creating this reality that we're experiencing from that. And people don't like to hear that because there's aspects of my reality I don't like. But without responsibility, this must be a huge part of it, right? Self-responsibility for literally everything in my reality, whether I like it or not, whether I believe I directly created it or not. There's powerlessness if we're not in full responsibility.
Yes. Yeah, and you've gotta not make it wrong. Soon as you start making it wrong, you're not gonna wanna take responsibility. "You mean I created my cancer? You mean I created my fibromyalgia?" No, you never create that. But the unconscious programs that glommed onto your system somewhere are
Mm,
ready to be let go. That's what
mm,
created it. You're just the one responsible for, do I hang on to these or do I let these go? Because
I
you'll
love
you'll
that.
have that unwanted experience get you the 10 out of 10 clarity. Oh yeah, I'm definitely willing to let this go. And sometimes those patterns are attached to things you wanted, like I've got to make everybody happy, or got to make sure I achieve, or I've got to prove my worth and value, and like all these layers that are actually not serving you. And so then you get to evaluate, oh, what can I, reconsider? Maybe I'll reconsider that. What like you get curious. Maybe I'll reconsider this conclusion that I have to prove myself in order to have life work out, or I've got to make everybody else happy in order to be at peace. But these are unconscious conclusions we made. Maybe you're like 5. And so you get to like let everything that's happening in your life be an invitation to reevaluate that and reconsider. Is this serving me? What if I did let this go? And especially when it's like a life-threatening illness, of course there's fear, but you either let the fear have you clamp down, or you let the fear be an invitation to open and trust. The life force that created me can come through me more fully when I let go and trust. And that's what heals the body.
I love that. It's so graceful the way you bring it forth into the world, that it's so non-threatening and so warm and inviting for people to come into it with curiosity to see what's possible for them in looking at these things. And I really appreciate that about your work. It's not a dictate. It's not there's a lot of material that contains the same kinds of information, but it's very blunt and a little threatening for
Yeah.
people. People need to have that kind of warm, open, curious space, and I think space holding for people is really important, who they're with, to go through that. So on that note, can you tell us about what is coming up for these people that feel this invitation to be with you and go a little deeper? You've got something happening on May 16th.
Yes, so we have put together a workshop that we've done in the past very successfully to invite people into what this work is really about. So some of the science behind it, some of like how your mind body system works and how it really is creating everything that's on the surface. And then what are some tools you can use to begin to unwind this, to like get your power back from wherever you've left it outside of yourself, to begin to see what you couldn't previously see, to let go of making it wrong. So your system's not like hiding it from you. And you're like, what? I don't know. Everything's fine. I don't feel a thing. Yeah, because your system knows you're going to judge the heck out of yourself. So it's not letting you see. You got to begin to be in an open relationship with your body, with compassion, to begin to see what you're asking to see, right? The power. And so in this workshop, we'll really be introducing that and giving you the tools to take those steps to begin to live as a conscious, embodied human being versus one where you're protecting yourself from other people, or protecting yourself from an unwanted situation, or, just generating that inflammation and lack all the time. And in the Embracing Health program, where I work with people live and guide you through this work, it is the most transformative year of your life, because you're going to shift all of those mental, emotional patterns that literally have you not see what's right in front of you, the opportunities, the people, oh, I could just do it this way, insights. It will allow your brain to work differently. So your brain is neuroplastic, and you can repattern that neural circuitry out of the unconscious programming that you don't even realize you're still living, and really begin to see from your clarity and from your truth, and live in your expanded self, where your life is in flow, where the things you dream are calling you, that it's not just randomly that you want something. Your higher self has that in store for you. And so in this work that we do together, we really release that identity of the lower self. Oh, I could never do that. Or that's just too bold. Or, well, because I don't have this degree, and you have all these conclusions, but they're really not true. So to
Mm.
begin to live the truth, and unleash the power. So you're unstoppable.
Love it all. And I love how much for anyone in my community that's listening, that's new to your work, and my work is very deeply down the vein of the spiritual, what I call the spiritual vantage point on everything, is that the people in my community that are listening to you will be able to see the spiritual context of how this is freeing up for your life force, for divine life force to move in you and through you when we're clearing this patterning. So this is so powerful, this work. So we're going to go to drkimd.com/workshop for the free workshop on 16th of May. So that's drkimd.com/workshop. There'll be a link below the video. And then for the Embracing Health program, which is going to begin in June, is that correct? And that's a 12-month program. That's drkimd.com/health to find out
Yes.
about that program. And that's actually open for early registration if people want to just get right in there now.
Yes, yes, you can get on the
Okay,
list
perfect.
right now. So when we open the doors, you'll be aware for that. And that, even just looking at the page is going to introduce you to a whole new realm of how your energy system works, how your heart is actually calling you to more. And sometimes it would make me want to cry. Like my heart wanted so much. And I'm like, it's not possible. It's not possible. Why can't I just not want this and be like everybody else? But it's actually always about like just releasing everything you think, because most of it's a lie. And so letting your heart call you and letting it show you what's really true. So that's really what is in store. And I'm really excited to be sharing this with more and more people.
Yay, I love it all. And I can give testimony to the fact that being in your presence is very transformative. Having had the pleasure to spend time with you, just your energy alone is very alchemizing for people, let alone the power of this work and the program itself. So please go over and get enrolled for the workshop, everyone, and check out the Embracing Health program at the links that have been provided. I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. I'm so glad that we could connect. Thank you for having me.